Anderson. You have seen a copy of the directory of World Cinema. So she's here. Yes, as Seth said, my name is Entevyou Lumumba. I teach here in the Africana Center. I would like to be brief because the film is long, not long enough to capture this extraordinary, tragic, at the same time inspiring story. But as you have to go to other things, let me be brief. In geopolitics, there's no vacuum. Even if a country is not considered to have resources, they will fight to occupy it in the geopolitical context of the global world. But when a country has resources that are directly needed for the advancement of the powerful, it becomes even more the site of fight and all the casualties. This is the story of Patrice Lumumba. Former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger said about the Congo, how could it be? It's such an aberration. How can such a country have so much in terms of the minerals, the resources, the capacity? There is a book or a film that came recently called The War Below, meaning the fight that is going on today. Even as countries are trying to move to the green energy, it requires some resources, some minerals to arrive at that. So there is a war that is going on today, and the Congo is still in the crossfire of that war. The Congo was the country about which what would have been the First World War could have happened. When the Europeans were positioning themselves on the African coastal line and trying to go inside, at that time, it was only through the rivers, the mighty rivers, the Nile, the Congo, that they could go inside. And so at that time, the Congolese, the Belgian king, Leopold II, had already stationed his troops, his presence in where the Congo River falls into the Atlantic Ocean. And he didn't want the other European countries to come near. So they almost came to a First World War when they decided, as a civilized people, they should sit and decide to partition Africa, what Basil Davidson called the magnificent cake. That's what led to what you all know about the Berlin Conference of 1884-85. It was because of that, to reach some agreement. Later, if you're interested, maybe have seen some of the readings, or many, not enough to capture. There are still archival documents that we are uncovering, but there is enough to have a sense. Isaac Cotigny's book, Writing a Dangerous Man, why Congo's independence leader Patrice Lumumba had to die. It will give you a lot. Ali Mazrui's Thoughts on Assassination in Africa would also enlighten you. And Zongolan Talaja, professor at University of North Carolina, his book, monumental book, The Congo, From Leopold to Kabila, A People's History. And Adam Hochschild, King Leopold's Ghost, a story of greed, terror, and heroism in colonial Africa. And George Stockwell, who himself participated in the assassination, in the plot, as a CIA agent, his own work on In Search of Enemies, a CIA story, so you can find more. So let me briefly say that because of the wealth of the Congo, not only what was under the soil, but the mighty Congo River, it is still estimated that if the Inga Dam is brought to full operational state, it can provide electricity to the entire African continent and more to share or sell elsewhere. The agricultural potential, extraordinary. So this is what the Congo is. And as you will see, the Lumumba is presented as radical. There's absolutely nothing radical. Each of you sitting here wanting a better world, something for your own life, and people you care about, people who are from those areas, whose ancestors are from. What is radical about that? He was not radical. Thomas Sankara was not radical, but this is the way they are labeled, radical. And Raoul Peck's first film, The Prophet, Life of a Prophet, is precisely what Lumumba said in those last months. He warned the Congolese. He said, let us forget what divided us. This situation is grave. It is more grave than you can imagine. Let us unite. You see what is still going on in the Congo? There has never been peace since then. There are still people dying, children, young people, being buried alive, trying to dig out some of the resources. The microphone I'm holding, the telephone I was holding there, your computers, when you touch it, you're touching something from the Congo. So that's what it is. So briefly, then you will see the way Lumumba was tortured, simply because he wanted the wealth of the Congo to be used in part. He was not greedy. He was not saying only for the Congolese, but use some to improve their lives. If you look at the international statistics today, the Congo is among the poorest countries in the world. How can you explain that? So much wealth and so much suffering. See? So he was tortured. You will see in the film when at some moment they hand him a piece of paper. It was when his last child was born. They had to fly them to Switzerland. They announced that the baby had died. When he came to the United Nations, trying to negotiate something, he went to Canada. He met with the US officials here, but he felt that there was a conspiracy at the United Nations, the West, against. Remember also, it was right in the middle of the Cold War. So he was labeled as a communist, as one Belgian scholar later wrote. How can you label an African a communist? They have this collective ethos. So by their own social system, he was for the community. And so how can you label him as a communist? In any case, when he came, he did everything. All the concessions. And by the time he left to go back to Africa, he realized that no matter how hard he tried, there was that tight connection between the Western powers against him. And he had audacity to meet with the Russian ambassador when he went to visit Canada, the Canadian authorities. So all that, either or, you have to be with us. If you are not with us, then you are against us. That's the way he was pictured. But he played a role from the very beginning. Lumumba went beyond what the political scientists called the primordial ties, meaning your ethnic group, or people in your family, close networks, your religion. No, he went beyond that very early on. He was for everybody. He went through many, many borders, symbolic and physical borders. So from that early beginning, he went beyond the Congo to project a Pan-African perspective. That's why he connected so well when in 1957, Nkrumah organized this All-African Peoples Conference in Accra, Ghana, and he went. So he connected with all those people, Frantz Fanon, Professor, the diplomat Babu from Zanzibar, you name it, they were all there. So he was a Pan-Africanist, basically, and he wanted the well-being of the African people on the continent and the diaspora who had suffered for centuries. The Congo is a country where women, I'm not talking about the women like Dana Beatrice or Kimpavita, who rose, a young woman in her early 20s, against the transatlantic enslavement, rebuilt the capital of her country, her nation at the time, South Salvador. But she presented such a threat to them, a young woman of your age, because of what she was doing. She was put to death with her baby in her arm. So I'm not talking about those women, those giants. I'm talking about ordinary women who, out of principle, refused to work with their hand in the context of the slavery that was established, that Rothschild talks about here. And what did happen? Many of those women, they had her hand chopped, cut off. Here are the people who were going to Africa, civilizing mission. What kind of civilization is that? When those women, out of principle, for their own dignity, refuse to work, to use their hand to work against their will for a colonial barbaric system, and their fate was to see their hand cut off. So that's the terror in the Congo. And so Lumumba wanted an end to that. Sadly, when there's the internal contradictions, and what the system, the global system does so well is to divide to rule. So it, just like Dana Beatrice I mentioned, she would not have been put to death by the Portuguese directly alone. It required the collaboration of people inside. So that's what happened with Lumumba, when Mobutu, whom he trusted, was the one to arrest him. So you will see in the movie, part of it is, you have an actor, so it was not Lumumba himself playing, but you will see also some footages from the real Congolese experience. Those few days, it's turmoil, torture, literally. The Congo became formally independent on June 30th, 1960. Patrice Lumumba, Prime Minister, he was not Prime Minister smoothly. So much struggle. He was assassinated on January 17, 1961. So half a year. It was under President Kennedy was inaugurated on January 20th, 1961. So 3 days before, still formally, officially under the Eisenhower administration, is when Lumumba was assassinated. In the commission that was formed later, one of those who were directly involved in seeing Lumumba dead claimed that he had heard President Eisenhower say that he wished Lumumba could be thrown into a river with crocodile, meaning he wished Lumumba could be dead. And so he felt that it was an order, and he contributed to execute that order of making sure. You will see in the film, even when the US ambassador said, we're not involved in the internal affairs of other countries, you will see, if you look carefully, you will see the CIA, the US, the car with the US, the plaque. Anyway, so these are a few comments so that it won't be too long. I could teach a whole semester, a whole year, the Congo alone. But so I thank you for your interest. There are still things going on. It's not just history. There's still a fight going on today about the wealth in the Congo. May the world leaders be enlightened to give a peace to the children of the Congo. We remember, did you see the Black Panther? The notion that it's not that they want to keep the resources for themselves. They just want to have their share. Some peace, that's all. Eastern Congo never had that peace. Katanga was the secession region because of its extraordinary minerals within the well-endowed Congo. Katanga was even more than the other regions. So I see in you future leadership. Please, do your part. Refer to the Ubuntu paradigm that is not either or, that we all can advance. Using our common humanity, let us share. Okay? So that's the way I see when I speak to young people. I have hope in you. In whatever position you hold in the future, create a different world. Create a different world. It is possible. The past is what we have inherited, but I have always argued that history is not destiny. Remember that. History is not destiny. What has happened is what happened. We can start a new world of peace, equality, and respect for our common humanity. So these are the few words that I want to say.